science fails to solve the mystery of brains that have been preserved for more than 12,000 years. Bones, teeth, and even nails or hair are the main witnesses left from the past. Soft tissues, internal organs, muscles, tendons, or skin do not stand the test of time and fade away. Faced with this reality, a group of archaeologists and paleontologists have compiled a sample of thousands of soft parts to prove that the brain is the best preserved of all. In a third of the cases, it is not clear how they have been able to endure up to 12,000 years. They believe that there is something in the gray matter that acts as a preservative. After reviewing archives, archaeological databases, and hundreds of published research papers, they gathered information on more than 13,000 soft parts from 213 sites around the world. Of these, 4,405 were human brains, making them the most frequently sampled soft part. In fact, more than 1,000 of them are the only soft remains of the bodies found. Such a quantity allows them to dismantle the idea that they are something rare in the fossil record. Of course, having a brain preserved will be less common than skeletal or dental tissue, says Alexandra Morton Hayward, a forensic anthropologist at the University of Oxford, UK, and first author of this research published in Proceedings of the Royal Society B. Biological Sciences. But she adds that brains considerably outnumber other tissues reported during the same time period. Put on the map, there are fossil brains on every continent except Antarctica. Most are concentrated in Europe, but they have also been preserved in other areas of archaeological tradition, such as the Andean mountain range, ancient Egypt, the Middle East, or the Far East of Asia. By adding the climatic variable, they were able to investigate the causes of the preservation of tissues that, under normal conditions, should have disappeared in a few decades. In forensics, it is well established that the brain is one of the first organs to decompose after death, recalls Morton Hayward. Most brains, 38%, have been preserved by dehydration, usually by heat. For example, 500 are preserved from an Egyptian necropolis from 6,150 years ago. The other preservation mechanism has to do with soap, saponification. Under certain environmental conditions, the body's fats, the adipose tissue, 98% of which is made up of triglycerides, are converted into adipocera or cadaveric wax. It is this wax that gives longevity to 30% of the brain tissues investigated. They are many, but they have only found them in 7 sites. Almost all, 1,200, were found in a medieval cemetery in Paris. 2 other pathways they have found are strikingly marginal. Only 1.6% of the brains they have located have been preserved by freezing in areas such as Alaska and high mountains, such as the Andes or the Alps. The tanning of the gray matter, as if it were lambskin, has only been found in about 20 cases, all in peat bogs in humid areas of Europe. But there are 1,328 brains that have come down to the present without knowing how, including the oldest of the sample, which are more than 12,000 years old. The authors of the study have classified them as having an unknown mechanism. It is not that they have not investigated it, it is that they do not fit in the 4 previous processes, and in which they have not found specific environmental conditions that explain their conservation. Nor are they helped by the fact that they were found in a wide variety of sites, including graves, burial mounds, shipwrecks, wooden and lead coffins, shallow and mass graves, fragmentary remains or severed heads. They do not share latitude or climatic conditions, although the presence of clay and iron at these sites could explain some cases. Few factors are common to brains of unknown type, although waterlogging and the presence of clay and iron in the burial environment are occasionally mentioned, Morton Hayward notes. What distinguishes them from other types of preservation is that they are the only soft tissue remaining, suggesting a mode of preservation unique to the central nervous system, she adds. Indeed, of the 1,328 brain remains of unknown mechanism, 1,308 were the only soft remains found next to bones or teeth. Moreover, the absence of unifying environmental factors points to something in the brain itself, perhaps its biochemical composition during life, underpinning this unknown mechanism and facilitating its preservation after death, the British researcher concludes. That will be the second part of this story. They aim to find those endogenous elements or mechanisms that give greater longevity to brain tissue. It is true that the skull provides a temporary refuge from environmental action, but it also does so for the heart or the tongue, and yet no similar cases have been preserved. Another element adds more mystery and reinforces the internal clue. On average, the sites where these brains have been found have higher levels of precipitation than the other preservation mechanisms, and humidity is one of the environmental factors that most accelerate the putrefaction of organic material. Among the possibilities they point out, their main hypothesis is that of a chemical interaction between several elements, such as between proteins and lipids mediated by iron. All three are abundant in gray matter and would be the key to its preservation.